Hi there, welcome back to Guru Grit. My name is Monica and this is a place for learning and spiritual development and all things to do with pretty much the human experience on Earth. So there's something I would like to talk to you today. It's a little bit niche and a little bit specific, but I really think that it's going to be helpful to a lot of people, especially if they're starting out on their spiritual journey. Self-awareness, whatever you want to call it, is fine by me. And it's one that people often misconstrue or misunderstand. It is quite niche. It has to do with the impartiality of existence and spiritual abilities. So if you don't know, I am an astrologer and spiritual teacher, so you can go ahead and find my work in all the little links below, so go ahead and check those out and other videos I have. But what I really want to talk to you today is something that usually happens when people start out learning about manifestation or meditation or what else have you. And what they tend to do is think that if they're good, then they get what they want, and if they're bad, then they don't get what they want. Now, of course, there's a lot of programming that goes into this as children, whatever, but it's really neither here nor there, because I've observed from an early age there was lots of people who didn't do, let's say did not do what society expected of them, but they got everything they ever wanted out of life. And you would think, but how can that be? Like, you're not kind and you're not sincere and you're not generous, and all you ever do is prosper and find joy, and it's like a strange thing. But the reason is that the universe is impartial, it's impersonal, it has no bias, it functions, it just functions, it works just because it does. So if you understand the game, then you're gonna win. Florence Scovel Shinn has a book called The Game of Life and How to Play It. I think it's the best title for this kind of book that's ever been written. So it's very, very true. So a very good example is, let's say somebody in the public eye who's worth lots of money, never really donates to charity or something like that, and they just go from strength to strength. Many scandals come out. We clearly know they're not a very caring person or a sincere person. It doesn't matter. They go from prosperous to prosperous. They just go from strength to strength. And then even if they donate to charity and they do helpful things, we just find out they make it back on their tax return. So they never really gave anything. It just makes them richer somehow. So that's the reason why, is because they feel untouchable. And they believe in what they're doing, and they believe in themselves. And they understand this principle that to get what you want, you're the only person who has to believe it. You're the only person who has to actually care, and you will get it. Because it has nothing to do with human definition of good and bad. Because you could do something that we define as bad, but it gives you pleasure to do it. And it's not loving and it's not kind, but you get a momentary rush. You're going to experience that high and create some joy somewhere off in the future. Now, without getting too technical, all you really need to know is that this is how the universe works. So this means if you just understand whatever you put your mental energy towards is where your energy is going to flow, and you're going to get more of that. So for example, if you want to get married and you always think about being single, then it's going to be very hard for you to attract a mate. So a very good example is, let's say you're single and you're just having fun at a party, and someone's like, hey, what kind of person do you like? And what do you look for? And what height or what characteristics or some such thing? You could have that knowledge, down pat. You can know exactly what you want. But I wouldn't encourage you to engage that in that conversation, because what you're really engaging in is describing something that you don't have. Whereas a married person would never really have that conversation. They would say, well, my type of, I'm going to marry a very smart man. So I imagine my husband would say, I only have one type, and her name is Monica, and then point at me. So you would say, oh, I have my perfect type, and then not discuss it any further, because if you're already married, what are you talking about? You're not putting out the vibration of looking for something, right? So once you understand that that's how the energy works, then you can just simply have everything you want. And there's no shortage of cases through history, recent and old, where people who've come from absolutely nowhere and knew nothing and had, I don't know what less than nothing is, but they probably had less than nothing, and built empires or ruled them or changed them, changed societal structures, just rocked the world, just stunned it. All because they understood they could leverage their energy, but that energy is available to everybody. Was it Monroe? He said, the greatest lie that's ever been told is that man has limits. Man has no limits. Everybody has access to this energy in equal proportion. But if they believe that they don't, then that's exactly what they get. So this brings me to my second point, and this is the niche topic, is spiritual, what we would call spiritual abilities, okay? So things like remote viewing, lucid dreaming, astral projection, being psychic, or being a seer, or some such thing like that. There is nothing magical about that. It's not mystical, because what happens a lot of the time when people start learning about this, they think, oh, I know someone who's a Reiki healer and they can tap into this energy and they do that. I mean, Jose Silva, who has the Silva method, believed this and he knew this and he taught this openly. You know, he knew every human being can tune into frequencies and do these things. And so all of this just to say, a mark of your spiritual evolution is not whether you can or cannot do any of these things. Because if anything, these people are actually actively trained in some fields of work to be able to do this. And those are the least spiritual people of all. But they understand that they can do it. So let's take like remote viewing or astral projection, for example. You don't have to, meditate and say certain things and be a vegetarian and send love and light to the universe and then light candles and wear red on Tuesdays and white on Fridays. You don't have to do any of that. You don't have to pray, etc., etc. I mean, you do what you want. I'm a praying woman. I love to pray. But you don't have to do any of those things to be able to access the Akash or the astral realm. You just have to know how to do it. It's like a skill. It's like saying only a Sagittarius is allowed to drive. And if you're not born a Sagittarius, that's tough. That's ridiculous. Anybody can do it. You just have to start and you have to learn and you have to believe. So I want to talk more about this in future content. But just for now, if you're starting out and you're frustrated that you can't meditate for an hour, you don't need to meditate for an hour. I mean, it's fun, but you don't have to do it. Like 10, 15 minutes a day is more than enough. Perfect. If you want to do it twice a day, perfect. If you can astral project, great. Show other people how to do it, but it's not a mark of evolution, because most spiritual people don't do any of those things actively. And I would say the people who do those things very actively and they're highly skilled kind of learned maybe inadvertently or in other ways, but of course you can blend the two. Of course you can. So that would be like the ultimate goal, but that's all I want to say is the universe is not partial. And being able to do any of these things that you're inherently, born being able to do is not a mark of your goodness or your evolution. It's simply a fact. Just how like every human being can use at least like one of their senses, like touch or smell or taste or something. That's the same thing. Any one of us can just tap into these states and access these frequencies. It has nothing to do with your measure of your spirituality on some profound path. And in fact, the more profound that we think that it is, the more like ridiculous it becomes. It's so natural to you. Just accept it and enjoy it. That's all I wanted to say. And don't take anything that you don't get out of life personally. I know it feels really personal. You think, oh my God, like where is everything I want? Why isn't it happening? It used to be every month that went by. Now it's every decade. Don't take that personally. You're not bad. Nothing's gone wrong. You just have to, maybe read Florence Scovel Shinn's The Game of Life and How to Play It. You just have to understand there's just a way that things work. And once you tap into it, it just makes a lot more sense and it's just a lot easier for you. But everybody's different in this case. So if affirmations work for you, great. If they don't, who cares? Dispense with it. Get rid of it. And so anyways, it works if you work it. So get to work. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're interested, you can watch more videos and write to me. I love answering all your questions and I appreciate every co-creation that I have with each and every one of you. So thank you so much once again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your beautiful day wherever you are. Bye-bye.